Hey everyone, welcome to Chat B2B, the podcast that gives you a front row seat to AI and B2B marketing. I'm your host, Andrew Rao, co-CEO of Intercept, and on this show, we speak with enterprise marketing leaders who are piloting and scaling AI use cases. Each episode explores what are they learning and what we can take away to our own organizations. Today's guest is Mahadev Sastri. He leads marketing at CGI, one of the world's largest global system integrators, almost 100,000 people around the world. He started as a programmer, moved into client delivery, and ultimately into marketing leadership. So he brings a uniquely technical lens into how AI can actually transform marketing. We also dive into how professional service firms are using AI to deliver hyper-personalized experiences, and how you can build AI fluency at a scale of almost 100,000 people. Lots of great stuff here to unpack. If you like what you hear, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This is Chat B2B. Let's get into it. So Mahadev, you've described AI as a transformation lever for marketing teams at professional service organizations and even just the organization itself, rather than only a productivity tool. Can you unpack that? Where do you see AI offering like true transformational value?
I strongly believe that AI will be a transformation lever for professional services marketing. And that's because we need to consider two things, right? One is the form and the function of marketing. So why does marketing exist in a professional services firm, and what does it do, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what that means is that traditionally, marketing functions used to, or they still, a lot of them, we still do content, campaign, social media, events. Sure. So that's the typical function part, right? And the form part is we exist to support the business, to help business, have new opportunities in the pipeline and accelerate opportunities in the pipeline. But still, overall, it's quite reactive, right? It's not proactive not because marketers don't know how to strategize to make it proactive, but just that the marketers have always been resource crunched, right?
Yeah, agreed.
And now with AI, there is an opportunity to change that game, right? Now, when you can, let me do this with an example, right? Let's say we have 20, 50 financial services accounts, right? And then for those, you want to go after those accounts. So today, we know how to nurture those accounts, right? But that's still doing an event here, doing a dinner there, and so on. Even the intelligence that you get, that intelligence is at a very superficial level. The account owner probably knows more deeper things that you talk over a dinner or lunch that secondary research that we get doesn't reveal. And with AI, we can take the intelligence layer one notch up. And this is just an example of one thing that you can do. You can look at if a bank is hiring 50 Salesforce architects or Salesforce architects, for example, so then there's something is going on around their marketing or their customer service or even their sales support, right? And similarly, if there are some movements in terms of C-suite, in terms of people they're hiring, again, you can extract all the information, and there is the organizational knowledge of what we have worked with a specific account. There's a client development plan or an account plan. So imagine a world where an agent could actually synthesize all the information and create proactive opportunities based on the professional services capabilities, right? We already have some tools today at CGI which does some of that, but that's the next level of maturity.
There's a framing that we often come back to with AI around the difference between single player mode and multiplayer mode when it comes to AI. So in the single player mode, it's this like one agent, one employee, or one person. In the multiplayer mode, It is agentic systems. It's orchestrated workflows that power teams and departments. And I think that the two are very different. I'd say most organizations are kind of in the single player mode, right? Which is like, hey, I've got a Copilot, which is great. I mean, Copilot can do a lot, right? Within M365. And I know that CGI is users of that. I'd love to unpack that one. But I think that there's also this promise of 10x gains with AI. And I think that that's what multiplayer mode unlocks. Single player mode's kind of like 10%, 20%. And so I just would love to hear your thoughts on sort of the two sides and just where CGI today in this journey, and what are your thoughts on that?
Wow, yeah, that's very interesting actually. So is it 10% and 10x is 1000%, right?
Yeah.
So wow, that's a lot of boost.
A lot of zeros. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So yeah, the 10x improvement, in fact, it's actually more than 10x for sure, right? So 10%, it's still anything that we are touching AI today, it's minimum 20-25% boost, right? Now that's a given, right? Summarizing, researching, and all those things are much quicker and stuff. Days you're doing it in literally hours, or minutes sometimes. To get to the 1000% or 10x benefit and creating the agentic systems, well, let's take a step back. Let's talk about just agents itself.
Yeah.
The reality is that to adopt agents at an enterprise level, you need a lot of trust, right? It's taken us like 2 years since ChatGPT was launched to even start prompt engineering in a proper way, right? Creating custom GPTs and So in some organizations, even cloud is actually people still have a lot of workloads on-prem, right? Not everybody has moved to cloud, which means that also limits the capabilities that you can really unleash with the power of cloud. And that's a deliberate choice that organizations make because they are serving, let's say, a lot of government firms. They are serving a lot of financial services firms, highly regulated industries. So there's always a risk factor, right? So I think we are at that early trust stage with agents. And with AI in general, and I think it's just like humans, right? We build trust over time. The trust
that's true.
Just takes time. So now when we look at an agentic system where you have multiple agents orchestrating with each other, that's the future that realistically would take some time for us to really incorporate, right?
Yeah.
But we have to break the mold with agents itself first. Even having one agent, if we have a use case where deploying one agent, that will be a door opener. Like I can give an example where we are actually getting close to that. So there's a proposal generator system that we have developed, and now that does pretty much what an agent would do, right? So given a input as an RFP, so it'd go and look at all the capabilities that CGI has, and then it'd pull together references, and then it'll give a very neat, like 60-70% draft, first draft, right? And then, of course, everything is built with a human in the loop. So then humans, so there would be experts coming in looking at the draft, right? Another example is deal qualification. That's another great example where one of our teams is actually taking the moment a RFP drops, and they'll look at, okay, should we bid or should we not bid?
I see. So it's decision support.
Decision support, but to do that, it has to go into multiple systems and do that, right? So we are taking those initial steps towards agents. But agentic systems, I think it's coming soon. That's what my hunch is.
I'd love for you to share maybe just some of the use cases that you're currently doing within CGI marketing right now. How are you guys using AI, whether that is, the back end, non-sexy stuff, or like super novel use cases? Give us a sense of the gamut. How are you applying AI today in marketing?
Yeah, so it goes back to, are we using AI from a function standpoint or form standpoint, right? Are we changing the function or changing the form? And we are mostly changing the function here, right? not as why marketing exists. We will have to get there once we start deploying agentic systems. But today, just to give you a feel, it spans around, definitely it's a no-brainer content, then intelligence, then we have custom GPTs actually in some cases, and then what else is there? So we have, of course, proposals. I talked about the proposal generator. And then email content summarization. I can give a good example of the content piece. Notebook LM, I think it's a great example.
Oh, it's great. One of my favorite tools for summarization, and
and it's being used very creatively in some industries, where you, instead of looking at a knowledge base with like 1,000 different case studies and point of view and thought leadership, now there's like one go-to place for that industry, and then you just ask, hey, what do we do in that, or what's our capability, or what's a differentiator, and then that immediately tells you. And the other one I can give examples, the custom GPT. That's an interesting one too. In one of the strategic business units, what was done was AI messaging and AI narrative, right? To ensure there's consistency across the business development teams. So this custom GPT was created and then propagated for usage, and there the input instructions were actually that what should you message and what should you add as value proposal, even responded proposals in client meetings, and that is continuously updated, right? Because custom GPT doesn't update by itself, doesn't retrain, right? So you need to still update it, retrain it. So it's almost like you're creating a agent there, but then you're training the agent continuously manually. That's the difference. It doesn't train, it's not autonomous.
So it's interesting for the custom GPTs. Is everybody allowed to create one on the team? Like what does that look like in terms of who creates? Are there specific people, or generally the marketing team can create?
I can talk to the marketing team for sure, right? And marketing team, everybody can create custom GPTs. Yeah.
Awesome. And I guess they've been trained on how to do that, or is it more of like a, hey, experiment with it, play with it?
It's that, yeah. So there is all training available, and there are training emails that go out every week. So people can take up those trainings themselves, or we have access to a portal which with Skillsoft, right? So we have training there, but people are encouraged to do it themselves and start showing, okay, what have you done? Just people bring it up proactively.
Yeah. Is there a place where everybody kind of shares some of their learnings of best practices? And,
there is a centralized portal, and this is orchestrated globally. So we're across 40 countries, and we've got about 7-8 different business units. Wow. So everybody contributes to that, and there's a long list of completed, in progress, use cases, and in fact, I was like excited. Oh wow, we are doing that. Oh, I didn't know. Like, so there's so many things going on across this 95,000 people. It's hard to even keep track of who is doing what. And I think that's normal. We often ask ourselves, I think we need to organize things better, and we need to make it centralized, and we have to do all that. But we haven't gotten to that stage of industrialization yet, right? There's still pockets of innovation happening everywhere. At this moment, it's like, okay, let it be a little inefficient, but it's okay. Let's just bring things together slowly.
Well, it's an experiment. This is something, again, I was talking about with the CIOs at the dinner last night, which is, they talked about creating an AI incubator program within the CIO or within the IT department. And the thing we talked about is, if you know that it's going to work, it's not an experiment. An experiment is you're playing with things, you're moving at rapid pace, you're not going to productionize and scale it yet. This is a test. And so I think there's got to be a little bit of this, not chaos, but people have to get comfortable with things not being so well defined, because things are changing. Like your SOPs, for example. Well, in marketing, what we are thinking about is like, how do you create more fluid SOPs, because they keep changing. So it's a different mode. I feel like it is adjustment for a lot of people.
Right. And that goes back to the strategy of the organization, right? The strategy by definition is something you're betting on, you're not sure, else it would be called a plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it goes back to what the organization wants to achieve and how it sees AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you specifically on Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot. I find that I go in to speak at a bunch of different conferences, and so I find that a lot of people are very curious about Copilot. Most enterprises have access to it. And so even this came up at the dinner last night. They're like, we procured Copilot. I gave them to all our people. They're not using them. And that's not necessarily a Copilot specific thing. I think it's giving access to tools to the team. And it's just like the low adoption. So everybody was saying we need these tools and yet they're not using them. But specifically on Copilot, I find that people have a lot of questions. How do I use it? It's a different version in the different applications. And yet some people are seeing a lot of value from it. And I think it depends on your tech stack. Can you talk me through where you're seeing value with Copilot today?
Yeah, and I'll be very honest here, right? So mostly it's back to that summarization.
Okay.
Insights. Well, I was using it just last week on, I got a slide deck. I like 100 slides and just summarize this, change the headline, and this is the entire. So I had to do a lot of manual inputs for it to do its thing.
Yeah.
I think it's still basic, but then I also learned something very recently is because you have a Copilot doesn't mean you can do organizational orchestration with AI. It means you cannot say plug into SharePoint. You cannot, it only depends on your license that you have. And apparently there are 3 or 4 or 5 different tiers of licenses, right? Depends on what your organization has. You can extract that many benefits. Sometimes it's very visible that Outlook, you have a little icon there, Copilot, and that can do like a lot of things. But some people don't have it. Like I was looking at it, wait, I don't have, where do you have it? And then, they have a different tier. So it depends as well what you can do with that.
Yeah, it's true. So it sounds like then it's really on the individual productivity layer that you're seeing that value with Copilot today, right?
Yeah.
I mean the custom Copilots are there as well. Obviously very similar interfaces, custom GPTs, but you're right. I think there is the licensing component to this. I just find that is probably one of the top untapped opportunities in enterprises today is just being able to use the existing tools like Copilot the team has access to. But I don't know what it is that blocks that adoption. I don't know if you have a perspective on that, because they have the tools and yet adoption's very low. Why is that? Is that a training thing? Is that an enablement thing? Is that just a change management thing? But this is a recurring theme. So
it could be a mix of things, right? And and if organizations have, let's say, a OpenAI enterprise ChatGPT, right? Let's say, and people have been using that because that was the most shiny object, right?
Yes,
and everybody wanted to get their hands on. They start playing with it, and slowly you find the switching costs are higher to move from this to Copilot. Now you have to train the Copilot all over again. It depends on their access. That's too much of friction.
Right.
So maybe there's a bit of a competing product and there's a bit of a shiny product thing too. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, could be that for sure. So in the same study, I mentioned Watchtower. We asked B2B marketers how their role is likely to change in 2026, and I've shared this on a past episode here. But managing AI agents is the top change that they expect in their role to shift this year. And so I just wanted to get your reaction to that. And what do you think the impact of that is? If the marketing teams are now managing agents as one of their top responsibilities, how does that kind of shift the flow of work? What is that kind of impact that you see?
Hey, you can do more for sure, right? Marketing teams and professional services firms have traditionally been always resource crunch, right? The ratio of the marketing department versus the teams that they serve in a geography, it's always like in decimals, right? 0 points I'm paying, and same with the spend as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think with if you have agents that act as force multipliers, then you can definitely access more accounts. I think always in terms of accounts, right? That's where our business comes from. We're not going after the generic market. So we can definitely go deeper into several accounts at scale. There is also the thought leadership. I think we didn't speak about that. One of the core tenets of professional services firms is the expertise, right?
Yeah.
And that expertise is manifested in terms of thought leadership. And our thought leaders, which are subject matter experts, they have only so much time, and they can create only so many personalized, like account specific content or their point of views. But I think if there are agents that can be created to really increase the depth. Again, we're not talking volume here, but doing it at scale, personalization at scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think marketing can bring in a lot of value then,
We're already seeing this where, if we take really good best practices, right, at B2B marketing, take the concept of personalization, and we've designed a one-on-one content engine that allows you to, if somebody downloads an ebook, that ebook typically is static. It is a fixed asset that everybody gets. Everybody gets the same version. We've designed an engine now where if somebody downloads the asset, it pulls firmographic and details about the user and the organization, and it dynamically changes the asset. So there's specific. I mean, it's not 100%, adapted, but there's still core elements that remain fixed. But the introduction, the narrative, what case study gets selected to include in the asset, what's your CTA, it all is dynamically either selected or dynamically generated. And what as we think about, as an example here, the content team, they're thinking about how, leveraging agents and agentic workflows, how do they design the best workflow as opposed to how do you design the best one-off asset? That's kind of the way that they started to shift the thinking. So it's just one example of how you can take personalization and really do it well at scale at a level that you couldn't have done that before, because nobody would pay for 20,000 versions of an ebook.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I had done a little like a POC on my side. Again, with a simple tool with some simple prompts on ChatGPT to generate a interactive content, right? So the input was a standard blog, all text based, and then the idea was, okay, how can we make this a two-way experience of reading it rather than just consuming it like, okay, I just want to read this like simple text. And then it did a fantastic job, actually. It included all these sliders and icons, and I showed it to our digital team. Wow, look at this, how it just transforms the simple thought leadership from being a one-way communication to something it's a two-way, and the reader can actually play with it. And this was like a 5 minutes. It's just a 5-minute prompt. That's it.
Yeah. Did you publish it eventually, or was this more of like an internal? Okay.
Yeah, it's internal, but it's in discussion. It's discussion because then the question is, where do we deploy it, and how do we distribute it? Now the content creation is easier, right, in today's world. The question is, how do we distribute it in the right channel? And that's where we are.
It makes me think that on one hand, there's potentially this great divide or a growing divide that may happen where you've got some people that really lean into this, obviously like yourself, experimenting with it, playing with it, building things. And then you're going to have another subset that are not going to lean into it as much. And I think the people that lean in are obviously going to be, exponentially more valuable to the organization. I don't know. Do you think that there's this kind of divide that's going to happen, or do you think that it'll be more uniformly, AI is going to elevate? Depending on the day, I go back and forth. But what's your perspective on that?
I think what will happen eventually is the marketing teams should start building a little bit of technical skills, right? So
Yes.
in my past career, so I have not been a marketer all my life. So I used to be a programmer, and then I was in delivery to clients and so on, right? So today when I get into coding, I'm comfortable with it, right? But not everybody in the team is. Because the way their careers have shaped is different, right?
Yeah.
Some have been purely into events, some have been purely into social media marketing and so on, right? And I think that we just need to show people what's possible, right? And then I have seen there's a genuine interest. It was with AI, especially things like vibe coding. It just makes it so easy in a conversational way. You don't need to understand it just abstracts everything, all the complexities from you. I see that change definitely in our team in the last 1-2 years with AI. Everybody is playing with it, right? And it's just that you have to be curious and you want to be learning, right? You need to be learning all the time.
Yeah.
And AI gives that opportunity.
Have you gotten into Claude Code yet?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
But that's on my own. That's on my personal side. Because
incredible, isn't it?
It is so good. Yeah. I've also linked my trading. I also do a bit of trading. So as a bit of a trading system, and with N8N, well, not Cloud Code, that's N8N, sorry. With Cloud Code as well, I'm trying to do that. But it can do a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. But I love that. Some people are like, well, why would I go in the terminal and play around with Claude Code because they don't understand it? And my response to them, and this is inspired by, another person, one of my colleagues sharing this with me, is, do you drive a car every day, but do you know how your car works? Like, do you really know? You might be a little bit like handy here and there where you understand certain components, but do you really know how the car works? Probably not. Right. But you drive it every day and it gets you there. And so it's kind of the same thing where, there's a certain level of fluency, but you can absolutely use these tools with truly no coding background. I mean, you've got a programming background, so a little bit different, unfair advantage. But for other marketers, I mean, they can really pick it up, and it's pretty intuitive, right?
Yeah, very much. And it's doable. It's very doable. And that's what I'm now pushing my team to think of those lines. But I think there's a bigger thing that we need to do is, there's a tool, but then you're automating and doing all that for what purpose, right? So ultimately, think of the company strategy. We are here to support growth, enable growth, drive growth.
Yes.
What are the friction points that are coming in the path, and how can AI solve those friction points? So those are the conversations that we need to have in parallel while we are experimenting with things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll keep experimenting, we'll keep doing ad hoc things, and then only
you're going to be stuck on the hamster wheel of POCs and only experiments. Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point, actually, a good grounding point, which is, what is the purpose of doing this? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Again, they came up at the dinner. It was really like you can build anything. And so I think in a world where intelligence becomes cheap, you can build anything, any content, any application. The valuable thing is telling it what to do, what to build. And I think that critical thinking is something that I don't know if we're ready for yet as a workforce. And I've mentioned this before, but there's so much busy work that we do, and there's like every task that we do has this administrative tax on it, right? And so that's occupied so much of our day that if you were to just extract that all and say, okay, you don't have to do any of the busy work and you only do the critical work, I don't know what percent of the workforce would be ready for that. So it's I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, a lot of work, like say, knowledge will get democratized, right? So,
Yeah.
and today, if I think if I have to generate something on quantum computing and I have no idea about it, I can
Right.
still generate something with reasonable depth.
Yeah.
But the problem will be I can creating the content is not a problem, I think. And I don't think that was the problem ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The problem is in distribution, and that's what I firmly believe, right? Whatever you create, if it doesn't land with the right person at the right time when they need it,
Yeah.
then it's lost its purpose, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is just more than just generating. We keep talking about the generating side of things,
Yeah.
but there's a consumption side as well.
Yes, that's a good point.
Is the consumer ready to consume? Like, if somebody's hungry, you just keep feeding and feeding and feeding. They're not going to be hungry anymore. That's what's happening today. So much noise. People are drowned in noise.
Yeah.
How do we cut through that? Yeah.
Exactly. How do you really, and this is where, a lot of the account-based marketing programs that we're working on is really about how do you build a journey that is personalized to the customer, not just content, but a journey, right? So,
Right.
Being able to understand where they come in from, looking at like a demand base as an example to pick up those signals, and then being able to present the right content based on who they are, what industry they're in, where they are in the buying journey, and giving them more of like almost like a library of content to consume, not just one asset, but a library of content. And then being able to take, even if they're not a known contact at that point and they're still unknown, tracking that behavior. And then at the point when they convert and they become a known lead, taking that context and injecting it into that lead. I think to your point is, how do you activate the content and being able to put in the right places at the right time? I still think you're right, is probably something that we should be focused more on as an industry,
As an industry, yeah. There's this new trend that I'm observing is generic thought leadership is not cutting it, right?
Yeah.
So what clients are seeing, and I'm seeing that a lot in the RFP process as well, as show me, don't tell me, right? So especially coming to agents, like, don't tell me how to create, just show me what you've got. Show me where have you done this, right? And that goes to, we call it demo, but then there are clever ways to actually do the demo as well, but use it as a content where you actually see agents working in progress, right? So there's a big push on what we call as customer client zero, right? We try to generate and apply to our own organization, but then package it for clients.
So Mahadev, if you look forward, let's say the rest of 2026, let's say we get multiplayer mode right, and we've got agentic systems that's powering teams. What changes do you think in terms of how teams get structured, how we talk about value, how do we measure value? Like, that's a big shift. If we get the agentic system right, we've got orchestrated workflows, we get what Microsoft coins as frontier firm, right? So hybrid organizations that are AI and AI and humans working together fluidly. What does the marketing team look like at that point?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, actually. And I think that's closely tied to what would have happened to the professional services firm itself in 12 to 18 months from now.
Okay.
And that's up for debate.
Yes.
But one thing what will likely happen is professional services firms will start getting more outcome oriented, right? Outcome based, results based, right? It's not about the expertise or just capability alone, but what outcome we can deliver in terms of either operational efficiency, supply chain efficiency, and so on, right? What can we do? And if that becomes the mantra for the organization, then that becomes the mantra for this marketing unit, right?
Yeah.
Then the question doesn't become, okay, what content should I generate or what event should I support, but
Right.
what outcome marketing is driving now. Yes, it used to be pipeline. Is it still pipeline, or is that something else? So I think there'll be more focus on the outcome itself.
Yeah.
And this outcome could, I'm just giving an example, a hypothetical example could be a client relationship health of the client relationship, right? Assume that. Now that's considering existing, network is a relationship with a one-on-one client, but
Yeah.
also considers the delivery that's been, set of deliveries that's been done over 5 years. So it takes into aspect a lot of, say, customer satisfaction parameters and so on, right? So has marketing moved the needle in that direction, right? So that's one. But in order to do that and create agentic workflows,
Yes.
and not tasks, so then the team also needs to be structured around those lines.
Yeah.
So is that 12 to 18 months or is that 18 to 24 months? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of shift I'm envisioning would happen.
I think directionally I'm aligned with that in terms of marketing's got to get closer to the outcome. And we have to understand how the rest of the business is servicing that particular client and their track record and all that kind of stuff. I think the challenge will become just how we can attribute some of the marketing activities to these outcomes and the role that marketing plays, right? Because that's always, I feel like, another area that is very unclear, that people might use last touch attribution to say, oh, specific type of campaign activity was what converted, when you and I know it's like no, it was the whole journey, right? And but I agree though that marketing is can be and should be a outcome driven, as a function.
Yeah, and then going from the reactive to becoming more proactive. I think it'll all follow through, right? Once you know what outcome you're after, then you can work towards that.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Mahadev, thank you so much for joining us, and I would love to hear how CGI is evolving, and as you guys spin up new agentic workflows. Would love to see what this conversation looks like 6 months from now, and see sort of how we've gone from there. But thank you so much for taking time. And
it's been a pleasure. I learned a lot of things from you.